larks are singing, joys in the air. Come set your bells a-ringing, you've gladness to share. Hello there, sister dewdrop, linger a little while. Your colors in the sunlight would make a monarch smile. What need have I for treasures, diamonds or gold? The fairest of all pleasures are here to behold. Hello there, dearest kinsmen, pebbles and laughing brooks, you timid little beetles that hide in private nooks. God made us of his gladness, come then and sing, to cure the world of sadness. Oh, ring, bluebell, ring, to cure the world of sadness. Oh, ring, bluebell, ring, to cure the world of sadness. Oh, ring, bluebell, ring. Lived in many countries and mixed with many men. I've shared their days of sunshine, gone with them in the rain. The fires at evening said we were brothers. The fires at evening said we were brothers. A soldier I saw weeping beside a dying friend. My officer had said I must hate him till the end. But seeing his grief I knew we were brothers. But seeing his grief I knew we were brothers. A man sat on a doorstep to see the children play. The gentle way he smiled there would charm your fears away. A stranger he, but love made us brothers. A stranger he, but love made us brothers. One day I climbed a mountain with friends of other lands. The words we used were different, but joy one understands. Our gladness in God's world made us brothers. Our gladness in God's world made us brothers. Though words and customs vary like waves upon the sea, one life beneath the surface binds everyone to me. Who knows the truth knows all men as brothers. Who knows the truth knows all men as brothers. And brothers, why endeavor to set ourselves apart? The fences we've been building squeeze tight upon our hearts. Come sing the truth that all men are brothers. Come sing the truth that all men are brothers. Finally, yeah, sing along. What is it? That's it. The secret of laughter. What is the secret of laughter? We're going to tell you. But part of it is singing along with us on Lurulurulero, Lurulurulai. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly.
Just for the Irish people in the room.
But not only them. The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. It's a swallow winging on the wind, it's innocence in a boy. Joy will come to any the singing, not in the song sung well but never crave. You could think. This is one of those songs that has lots of words. It's like, which verse is it? What are the words? They all sort of mush together too. Yeah. You could win the world but still be poor with peace and live like a king, right? Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy in the giving, not in the gaining. Craftsman, you'll never sing. You could win the world and still be poor, win peace and live like a king. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Sing when the sun shines, sing when the rain falls, sing when your road seems strange. In a tempest seize the lightning flash and ride the winds of change. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. One more time. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Okay, thanks. How many people wanted to dance?
We've got a panel of us, very nervous about what's going to happen now. We just want to share a little bit of our experiences of coming onto this path. Looks like I'm the first one. So, where do I start? Okay.
You all have to stand up there and do it.
So that everybody can hear us. And you're taking away my time, Alan.
That's what you asked me to do.
I've got the timekeeper at the back, and I've got 10 minutes. Okay, so from very, very early on in my life, I've had pretty much 3 parallel threads running. The first one is the desire to be free. As a child, I still remember a strong desire for freedom. And I used to think that once I finished school, I would be free. Nothing wrong with school, nothing wrong with my home. It was a nice family. But I thought, okay, once I finish school, I'd be free. There'll be no teachers telling me what to do. There'll be no parents telling me what to do. And I can be who I am. So when I finished school, I thought, well, actually, once I have a tertiary education, I will be free. So I went off and had a tertiary education, became an accountant. And I thought, actually, when I get a job and start earning my own income, I'll be free. And so you can see what was happening. Freedom was always a little bit further than where I was standing. And I was about 6, maybe 7 years old, and I had a dream which I remember very, very vividly to this day. I actually remember the feeling that went with it too. And in this dream, I was actually sleeping. And I'd be sleeping on one side, and I would say something in my dream, and then I would turn around onto my other side and find that what I had just said was instantly recorded. And so I'd turn around again and have a more complex sentence or a more complex thought and see what happens then. And I turned around and instantly recorded. And I did this several times. with longer sentences, more and more complex thoughts. And what I found was each time, no matter what I said, thought, or did, there was instant recording of that. And I got very, very scared at that point. And I woke up. I was so scared because it made me realize that nothing, absolutely nothing that I ever thought, said, or did ever went away. I didn't want to tell any adults about this dream because I thought they'll want to know what is it that I have to be fearful of. That I was doing something wrong and I was hiding something from them. So I never really asked any adults as to what it was, but the dream always stayed with me. And it was many, many years later that I discovered this whole thing about the chakras and samskaras and vrittis. And now I think I understand what the dream was all about. The second parallel thread that was running in my life was I used to be very, very melancholic. I used to enjoy reading books about hardships, troubles and trials. And when children were imagining tooth fairies and Santa Claus and all, I used to imagine being in situations that were very, very difficult and how I would cope with it. And I used to love listening to very, very sad songs that would make me cry, that would make me very, very depressed. I used to indulge in them, not anymore. The third thread that was running at the same time as this desire for freedom, this melancholia, and was the love for yoga philosophy. I remember as a child having a conversation with my grandfather. My grandfather was a very wise man and he was a disciple of Swami Sivananda. Some of you may know Swami Sivananda of the Divine Life Society. And one of the questions I asked him was, why do we live? What is our purpose? And he said to me, and it's always stuck, he said, well, it's really quite simple. Find out who you are. And he said, once you find that out, it's all over. You've fulfilled your purpose in life. And I thought, oh, okay. Little did I know that that would become a lifelong quest for me. And then, so as soon as I found some freedom and opportunities came to me, I actually started gravitating towards wanting to learn to meditate. So at first I kind of learned from books because I was a teenager and still at home. But as soon as I kind of moved out of home, I found some meditation courses to go to. And one of them that I attended, I absolutely loved. It was a 4-week course and few hundred people actually did that course. I used to live in Palmerston North at the time. And after the 4 weeks was over, the meditation teacher said, for those of you who want to carry on with the meditation, we'll be meeting in such and such a place. And so out of the few hundred that attended the course, there were 3 people who carried on. Me, my husband, and then there was another lady. And so we carried on going to that course, just the 3 of us. Used to really enjoy. That was like the highlight of my life. And then, I can't remember exactly after what time, but maybe a few months after that, the teacher rang me up. I was at home, and he said, look, I want you to send a photo of yourself to the guru. The guru used to live in New York at the time. He's no longer alive now. And I said, but why? Why do I need to send my picture to somebody that I don't know? And he said, well, he'll accept you as a disciple. And I said, and what does that mean? And he explained, and I don't remember what he said, but whatever it was, it made no sense to me. And to cut that story short, I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And he said, well, in that case, you'll have to stop coming. I was devastated because that was the one thing I was actually enjoying, and it was no longer there. But since then, it didn't take me long, and I found another meditation group to go to. And it happened to be a meditation group of this path here, Yogananda's path. And I carried on. I'm not quite sure how much I understood of it, but I did the techniques, I studied the lessons, and I kind of just put one step in front of the other and did all the techniques, and then the time came to accept Kriya initiation, and I went along with that too. Even at that point, I don't think I ever really understood what the guru-discipleship relationship was all about, and I did not have access to people like Asha or anyone like that at that point. All I had was printed lessons, and it's quite different learning from printed lessons as opposed to having somebody actually tell you from personal experience what it's all about. But anyway, I just went along. There was enough in the path that I actually liked and enjoyed, and I don't think I gave it too much thought because I was just enjoying it. So anyway, I took up Kriya initiation, and even as I said, I didn't have much comprehension of what the guru-discipleship relationship was all about. And then a year or two after my initiation, my younger daughter, who's now 15 years old, she was about 3 or maybe 4 at the time, she was needing an eye surgery. And as a young mother with this little child, I was very, very apprehensive. The doctors tell you all the, risks associated with the procedure. And I was very apprehensive, very anxious. Didn't quite know if we were doing the right thing, and we even sort of contemplated maybe we shouldn't do this. It was an elective surgery. Maybe she can decide when she gets to that age whether she wants to do this or not. But anyway, a few days before the surgery, I had a dream. And in that dream, I'll see if I can say this. In that dream, I saw Yogananda, and his hands were upraised like that in blessing, and I woke up that morning feeling absolutely at peace. It's like all anxiety, all apprehension was just gone. And that morning, Delia comes into my room, and like little children do, they cuddle up with their mums and dads. And she said, "Mum, Master came to me last night and he slept and cuddled me all night."
Great story. Hi all. It's funny, last night I said I want to be less self-absorbed, and so now we're talking about ourselves. But the thing that I realize as time goes on, just how unique everybody's story is. Just how the funnest thing you can do with any truth seeker is to...
You're closer to the mic.
Okay, thanks. Is to ask somebody, how did you come on the spiritual path? And just, it's the way God works through each individual, it's amazing. So my own thing was raised Irish Catholic, don't you know? In a big old school in San Francisco, and I enjoyed it. It was totally a positive experience for me, and I really took well to that whole thing, and religion just sat really comfortably with me and all that. I wanted to be a priest, actually, when I started growing up and stuff, and then I became a teenager, and that all went out the window. And then I started kind of being a truth seeker, and this was during the 60s and 70s, so they say that if you can remember the 60s, you weren't really there. We're going to skip ahead. Where, I just kind of tried to find truth wherever it was. And so at that time, for a lot of years, I did something called the EST training. Maybe those of you who are older remember that. But It's a way of kind of, actually the first time that I learned about karma, being responsible for your own actions. And it was one of those things that it was a great group seminar kind of thing to talk about how life works without actually mentioning God. You know, and that's how comfortable everyone was with that, and me too. So did that for a number of years, and then I started feeling, you know, something else is needed. Nothing's wrong with this, but I kind of feel like I'm sort of in this wall. Something's beyond that. And it was God that I was looking for. I wouldn't have been able to say that at the time. But I decided to start, you know, looking more afield for truth, and thought I'd walk around the world. And so started making plans and calculating how much it would cost. And there was an event in San Francisco where a guy that was actually coming back from having walked around the world was there, and so I walked with him for a little bit and talked with him and stuff. And I think it's said in the Indian scriptures that when the student is willing, the devotee, the teacher appears. What it really says is when the disciple is ready, the guru appears. And I think that's true for each of us, isn't it? That when we're really, really wanting something, whether we consciously pray or whether our heart just prays without us consciously doing it, something responds, you know, just like what Kavita was saying. And so it wasn't too long that a friend of mine, who was a fellow hiker, said, oh, you know, I know you like world travel and are thinking about that, so you might enjoy this thing I saw a poster about, this was in Palo Alto, about somebody talking about an India trip they took. Okay, sure, sounds fun. So I walked into the Ananda Center for the first time and listened to Asha for the first time, talking about their very first pilgrimage to India that they had just come back from. And, you know, okay, all the slides were interesting, really fun, but this lady that was talking was just, my antenna were just kind of, you know, what is this? I need to find out more about this. And there's a book out there called The New Path, and at the time that was just a pocket paperback, and they were redoing that, I think, into the large edition now. And so the pocket paperback was being given away free. So I said, free? I can relate to that. So I took that home and read Swami Kriyananda's story about his own spiritual upbringing. And I just really related well to that. And if you haven't read that, I'd just recommend it. Naturally, I'm biased, but it's great because, you know, it's our story. You're reading your story through him and just kind of saying, yeah. And then he meets Yogananda. And when the path was offered to me, I didn't buy the autobiography because you had to pay money for that. So when I got to the point in this book, however, where Swami Kriyananda meets Yogananda, it's like, I'm ready, I want that other book, so I bought that. And that was fabulous. That was, reading the autobiography of Yogi was like the experience of a lifetime. That was all the answers that I was seeking, that I was wanting to walk around the world and find. Were all there. And here's Yogananda telling it all in such a joyful way. And it was fun too, as a Catholic, not really, you know, an ex or recovered Catholic or anything, but just somebody who had been, but just hadn't been around that for a long time. Yogananda was presenting a perspective on all that that just made so much sense. It didn't negate anything that was honest truth-seeking of any path. It just validated it and gave me a context around it that just made total sense. So our life is kind of like a spiral where, you know, you just keep coming around to the same thing, the same theme periodically, and just looking at it from a higher perspective. So I felt like I was looking at the Catholic upbringing from a higher perspective, and I really appreciated that. And so I just started taking meditation classes, just like you all are doing here in New Zealand. And it was the best, and I never had to go anywhere. It saved me a lot of money. Didn't have to walk around the world. But it is just a real validation that when your heart is honestly seeking truth, you know, which we all are anyway, the answers come. And so I think the main thing is just to always be receptive to how God's presence is there in our lives. Always. Everywhere. Just like those angels hovering around us. And the more we can just kind of relax about our own self-preoccupation, just think, oh, right, look up. And just see how much God is there through our friends, through our circumstances that are all just like perfectly addressing what we're needing. And just really open to that. So that's the main thing I can think to say. How am I doing on time?
Fine. You have 2 more minutes.
I do.
Feel free to take them if you want them.
I'm going to be really generous and give mine 2 minutes. I will really need those talents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm here with a guitar, it's so different. Kavita was talking about sort of her early childhood inclinations and how they eventually got her onto this path. And when I think back to that kind of a time period, it's interesting looking back on your life at different stages and seeing how the perspective changes depending on what you've gone through after that. When I was a kid, I did very well in school just because I was kind of a bookish, brainy sort of kid that the system is biased towards. So I had the advantage of growing up feeling that I could kind of do a lot of things. And when I was a teenager, I took up music, and that kind of went the same way. So I always had this feeling that, yeah, if I put my mind to something, I could probably do it. I could probably do it pretty well, that's cool. But what should I do? That was always kind of the question. Because I could see people who had gone down a variety of different paths, and it wasn't all that appealing, any particular one of them. Music especially was kind of an interesting one, because when I started getting good at music, people would ask me, do you want to be a musician? And then my one reaction was, well, I'm always going to be a musician, I'm just a musician. But knowing that they meant professional, I always sort of went, well, I see these people and now they have to do it all the time, they have to make the living for it. It doesn't look fun anymore. And, I could sort of see, people in a variety of different professions going through the same thing. Maybe it was a passion once, and now they're kind of slogging through it. So why should I pick any particular thing to do? That was always kind of my dilemma. But like I said, I was good at school, so that kind of kept me going for a little while, because there's obvious next steps, go to college and everything. And I just sort of kept picking the next most reasonably interesting and fun-looking thing to do. I went to Stanford, and then got a job at Google, and I worked there for a number of years. And one of the interesting things about places like that, Stanford, Google, they sort of have this big, ooh, wow, kind of name recognition, like brilliant people work there, right? Well, they're all smart, but they're all just people. That was one of the things I was noticing after a while. I was like, yeah, we're all just figuring this out as we go along. And smart is just one quality of people, and so there are a bunch of that type of people together, but we're all just figuring it out as we go along. And I kind of had fun with that game for a little while. The Silicon Valley scene is a bit of a crazy race, and it's fun for a bit, and some people are really into it, but I wasn't really into it like some of these people were, because again, I was always just sort of looking, God, how far is this going to go? How long is it going to be fun? And after a few years, it wasn't so fun anymore. Parallel to all this, I had never really had a whole lot of inclination towards religion. Not through any particularly bad experiences with it, but I was just always a little bit suspicious of like, well, how do you know you're right if they know they're right also, kind of thing. But in college and shortly after, I'd also made a number of friends who were religious, particularly a number of Christians that I spent a lot of time talking with, and also some Jewish folks, and just meeting and talking with people on different paths. And I still had this problem of like, well, we can't all be right? But I was noticing that the people I most admired, just as people, tended to be the ones with some sort of religious faith, which bothered me because I didn't know which one I ought to pick. But it seemed like a good thing. So I was really just kind of in this weird space with that for a while. Anyway, around the time I was getting tired of the Google game and getting ready to leave, a major relationship in my life also sort of exploded in kind of a messy way. And in general, I was starting to feel like everything was falling apart all over the place, just like what happens to us sometimes. Everything decides to fall apart at once. And at about this time, Swami Kriyananda, who we've mentioned a bunch of times here so far, was passing through Palo Alto on his way probably to Ananda village. He would pass through periodically, he didn't usually stay there, but we'd see him every once in a while. And he was going to give a talk. And my mother had already actually become involved with Ananda. And it turned out later, she'd known about this for years, I had no clue. But so she knew he was coming, obviously, and she had always felt it was her responsibility to get both of her kids in front of a saint at least once in her lifetime. She gotta at least do that. So she strongly invited me to come, and I did. I don't know what, if anything, I was particularly expecting. That whole period in my life was a bit of a foggy mess, as you might imagine. But I went, and it was a catalyst, is what it felt like. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I have no idea what he spoke about, but I remember sitting there crying the whole time, basically, and not crying sad tears, not crying joyful tears, but something inside, he had found this little locked bit of energy and just done that, and all of a sudden stuff was just moving and flowing, and I didn't know what to do with it, so it leaked out my eyes. That's kind of what it felt like. It was, and the interesting thing is, I always think that's the bit that led directly to my getting involved with Ananda. It was another 1.5 years before I so much as took a meditation class with them or came to Sunday service, because I had a whole lot of other things to do. My heart went, I think, that time, and then my brain had to catch up for a while. I went and read the autobiography, I started listening to all of Asha's talks online, and I started going, oh, here's a way of being spiritual, like all these people I admire are spiritual, but in a way that automatically accounts for all the different paths in the world. And my intellectual brain also liked the fact that, it could sort of explain everything that I felt needed explaining. It's we're a lot more fresh off the avatar in this path, because Yogananda was just a couple of generations ago, and his explanations for everything are a lot closer to us, a lot less distorted than a lot of the longer paths have gotten over time. And just that being able to address every issue that comes up was a big appeal to me. But eventually my brain caught up with everything, and I set foot in Sunday service that one morning, and that was it. I signed up in meditation classes, and I just ran with it. And I think, if I were to sum up, one of the things that the overall path means to me is its context. When that relationship of mine exploded, that was my biggest context, and that's why it tore me apart. My job wasn't as much of an issue to me because I didn't identify with it, but some people feel the same way when when they lose their job. But this is the context that includes everything else, and the one that it zooms you out enough that nothing will be that devastating anymore, because there's always a higher level that you can look at it from, and that's been immensely reassuring and comforting me. And back to my first theme, it's given me something to do with my life that actually has an endpoint that will be satisfying, will be fulfilling, and will not just collapse because it's the biggest there is. It's infinity.
Hello. My name is Alan. I have to say, it's quite difficult to follow all these articulate people who can find threads in their life. I mean, I can't find the threads very well in my life. But anyway, I'll try and describe a little bit about my eventually arriving at being a disciple of Yogananda and being on this path. So I'm Scottish. I'm very observant of you. And I was born in, anyone ever been to Scotland or Ireland or Northern Ireland? Now, religion's a very popular topic of drunk men in the pub. But it's a very divisive thing, and so I was born in a mixed marriage, which is not a coloured guy and a white woman in Scotland. It's a Catholic person marrying a Protestant, which is just like, whoa, it's like earthquake. And so I was brought up in a household where, you had to be very careful even telling anyone that you were a Catholic, because if you did, you might just get beaten up on the way to school, because the whole village I was in was Protestant. But my father was a Protestant, and religion determines what football team you support in Scotland. I know it's crazy, right? And I supported a Catholic football team, and my father supported a Protestant football team. I wasn't allowed to tell anyone what team I supported, right? So the long and short of that insanity is that despite being relatively thoughtful about the world, I just thought religion was insane. And of course it is insane in that version of it. But I was quite a thoughtful and deeper child probably than my parents. I don't wish to speak ill of my parents. They're wonderful people, but they weren't not very adventurous people. For instance, my parents still can't drive motor vehicles. They never learned over their life. So I always just seemed a bit strange to me. Life just seemed very unusual where I grew up. That here was me sort of thinking about the world, deeply thinking about it, and my parents couldn't get themselves motivated to drive a car. So I remember when I was a child, everyone keeps mentioning their childhood, and I suppose I'm a psychiatrist, by the way, so so I better tell you about my childhood traumas. Dr. Freud would suggest. But in any case, it wasn't that traumatic. I remember looking at people when I was about 7, 8, 9, 10, and not being sure they were actually real, that people weren't real. Never heard that thought? That they're robots playing a role. They're not. How do you know they're real? I didn't quite go so far as to think they were space aliens, but I remember thinking, I just don't get these people. I'm not sure they're real. I'm not one of them. And so I was quite sensitive and a bit deep, but just didn't quite get it. And so I hit on the idea, makes it sound like I had some forethought about it, but I got deeply interested in knowledge and being a clever clogs. And essentially spent the rest of my life always knowing more than everyone else, or at least attempting to. And if anyone ever knew something more than I did about something else, that just was not acceptable. Which has been great though, it's exposed me to an awful lot of things, and I would be quite polymathic if you can. I'm Catholic in my tastes, but not my religion. But so for instance, I read a newspaper once, and this is true, I read a newspaper once, and it mentioned Sir George Scholt's conducting of the ring cycle by Wagner, and I thought, I'm getting that. So out I goes, and anyone ever seen the ring cycle or listened to the ring cycle by Wagner? Well, it's approximately 12 hours long of German singing. Here's Melinda. Melinda's German. Ah, there you are. Yes. Okay, even to German it's quite hard in the ears. Well, I can beat you in a talk about it because I have done it all. So that's the point though, is that such things led me down to intellectual accomplishment, snobbery, whether it had any inherent value or not. But I have to think Wagner is great art, but that's really beside the point. But I spent an awful lot of my mental and emotional energy finding out about things. Which made me a very good conversationalist, I have to say. But it really doesn't really make any, it doesn't really make any difference. Anyway, so through always wanting to know more than other people, I always wanted to be a doctor, because I was quite a deeply sensitive young man. I didn't like things being hard. I was really into justice. If things were bad and what have you, I wanted to make them better. So that kind of drew me in towards medicine. And when I was in medicine, I found it incredibly dull, I have to say. It wasn't as advertised on the tin. Really, it was about stinky feet. And there were some great people in medicine, but I didn't find it very ennobling. I thought I'd be like Doogie Howser MD, and I'd be dead clever, and everyone would be like so swish. And actually, present company accepted. Not only were they dull of personality, they were dull of mind. They were essentially, most of them were like technicians who just learned something that they didn't. I suppose I was looking for more wisdom, and I didn't know that. Anyway, so one night for reasons I can't quite remember. Well, I can remember, I'm not telling you. It might not be very ennobling. I suddenly realised I had to be a psychiatrist. It came to me, man. And I actually drew my girlfriend at the time a picture to explain why I had to be a psychiatrist. I think it was like the 60s all over again in my house. And the next day I went in and resigned, and I got a job as a psychiatric training doctor. And there I've remained ever since, not as a training doctor, as a psychiatrist. And I found it great, and I found that I became even better conversationalist. I got a measure of intellectual and personal and emotional achievement from it. But then, not so long ago actually, now about a year and a half ago, I'd never failed at anything in my life, and I say that it's not a good thing. I thought it was quite a cool thing to have failed. But that didn't turn out to be that helpful in the long run. I had some problems at work, and essentially it came down to a sense of injustice. I felt deeply, badly treated. And if you're Scottish or Irish, a sense of injustice is your birthright, It motivates you to do stuff, and I felt really very, very troubled by it. And I just couldn't accept that there was essentially corruption and injustice in my place of work. And I spent quite a lot of time trying to ensure that quality was delivered in this and that and the other way. And not only was that not well received, but in essence I was blamed for it. I suppose it's like whistleblowing stuff. Anyway, that is just the context of how my sort of sense of justice was kind of wrought. In essence, I got miserable and I was off work. And I was messing about on the internet, as you do when you're lying in bed miserable. And I chanced upon the Narrows Retreat in Hamilton. Now, I only did that because it was close. I didn't want to go too far. And I went to visit Kavita. And my wife said to me when I got back from this 1 hour consultation, she said, "What was she like?" I said, "She was kind of nice, a little Indian lady." A little Indian lady. And from small acorns. But I went back to Kavita's for a retreat. And I don't wish to speak ill of the DHB that I work for. They actually paid for the retreat, so they're not all bad. They're not all bad. That was good. And within, I'll just say something. I had never heard of Yogananda, never heard of Swami Kriyananda. I had taught some patients meditation, but mindfulness meditation is not relaxation. But I had no, thank you. I had no knowledge of this world, so to speak. And within 1 or 2 days, my depression had largely resolved, and I had said to Kavita, "Teach me whatever it is you do." And apparently I was a natural. She'll see that later. Yeah, I was apparently a natural, and ever since then, essentially, the words that Dambara said about when you're ready, the guru comes. In essence, the teachings there was no resistance whatsoever. I got on a plane to go to America, and I was a child. I know.
No, I'm going to stop.
Have my time.
I was the person that thought chicken was a vegetable, right? I wanted meat, chicken. Oh, that's a woman. That's women's food. I wanted bits of steak. I got on a plane to go to America, and off the other side I was a vegetarian, and I've never eaten meat since. Yeah. My life just changed without any great planning is my point I was making, and the same held true for the teachings. I didn't plan it, I didn't go and say, "Oh, I'll try dead hard to get into this because it makes me feel good." It just happened without any forethought. Now, I've thought about that since, and there's a lot of groundwork obviously been done in the background that I was, in a sense, fighting against. There's been several themes in my life that I realised I was in the middle of a battlefield, but didn't always end up on the right side. And it got to a point that it became very obvious, and the side I went with, it was just very natural that that was the winning side. And ever since then, and last year, September last year, I came and met with Asha, and I was sitting in here, I think, or somewhere in Hamilton, and the issue of discipleship came up, and I just said, yeah, I'll do that. Again, I never even thought about it, but it's just proved another godsend in my life. And from being a relatively decent functioning person who got a bit down, I am more even-minded and balanced than I have ever been. So, thank you very much.
Oh, who can follow that?
You, all right.
Oh, dear. Well, I'm the oldest one, so my life has been going on and on and on. And how I'm ever going to say it in 6 minutes.
No, you have 12.
Huh?
You have 12.
Oh, I have 12?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually have
Or even 15. You're the last one, so you can't eat anybody else's time. You're in a great position.
Well, I think most of my life, really, the bottom line is I've been looking for love. I've been searching for love. And searching all over the world, from, going down the Amazon in Peru with the natives to the plains in Africa and Botswana and Zimbabwe, to walking with the elephants, to every single place on the planet, probably. And why did this start? Well, when I was 4 years old, my sister was 2, and I remember this now. She had long blonde curls, and one day I cut them all off. And I said, Mommy, and Mommy about flip, but I thought Mommy would love me better if Jerry didn't have such beautiful blonde curls. And that's been the story of my life. It's like, where is the love? Is it, where am I going to find it? Because it comes and it goes and it changes and it leaves, and I have to let it go, and it comes again and it's still gone. Nothing seemed to stick or stay. And that was, or it just got anguishingly monotonous. And my father was an alcoholic, though I remember that was fine. I just had fear and worry. I didn't really blame him or suffer at all. In fact, you shared that about your life, and I thought, wow, I always thought it was me not caring, but it was because I really wasn't blaming or suffering. I just was presently getting through it, survival of this experience. And so I left home early for an early marriage with a young man who in the first year was in an automobile accident, broke his neck, paraplegic, can't move, can't walk. And so we moved back home to my parents' house, and while he healed himself, he had a great amount of will and willpower that was unbelievable. And therefore I had to draw from that also. And within 3 years he could function, and so then I could go on my way. And I did, and he did. And the next journey in finding love was a lovely partner, and I had a beautiful daughter, and that was wonderful, and that ended in divorce. And that was kind of scary because I was a single parent then, had a 6-year-old, and had to get a new career and a new everything. And I did, and I was good. I succeeded. I did well. But in 2 years, I had a grand mal seizure, and I was dropped to the floor. And so, what to do now? I mean, where could I go, and what could I do? I mean, I was really, really, really alone. I wasn't even close to any family, and I was still needing to be the breadwinner, and I was just devastated. but a sage came to me. A friend sent this person to me. I actually knew her. She was a regular person in the everyday work world, but a teacher of metaphysics, and she taught me metaphysics and started me on the path of understanding that what you think you can create, or it's about the will, and that's powerful. It's very powerful. I was 35 years old, so I think that started my spiritual journey, because when you have epilepsy, it's about fear. A seizure sound feels like fear, and so I had this constant experience of fear all the time, and then having to control it and move it away so that I could function and be in the world. And I was able to do that, and I began to feel that there was another source, but I was still confused about it. Where was it? What did it come from? Because it still felt like me, and I still felt alone. So where was it? And what was it coming from? So I started reading everything I could, kind of like Alan. I was an overachiever. If I was going to do something, I wanted to know every last thing. True seeker, for sure. Then I met the love of my life, my soulmate, and I thought, oh my gosh, now this is perfect. This is perfect, and I'm ecstatically happy, and everything was wonderful, and it was beautiful. And then he got cancer, brain tumor, and died. It was awful. It was really awful. And I thought, I know there's more to life. I know there is more. I know I have a purpose. And where is it and what is it? So the autobiography of a yogi fell on me. I don't know where I was. I don't know why it was in my house. It was there, and I read it, and a friend of mine said, you must come to the village. Swami's there, and he's not well. He's not going to live much longer. Please come. And so I did. And I walked through the village, and I was sharing this earlier today, and there were people walking arm in arm, and they're happy. And everyone was smiling and looking at me, and I was like, who are they? Who are they looking at? Smiling at, like I knew everyone. Like I know Jen. I mean, it was like we lived together before. We were always family. And so then I knew I was home. And it's just been the most magnificent journey ever since. I've been in these beautiful pilgrimages in India and in Assisi, and been in the presence of the masters, Shivananda and Rishikesh, and it just is such a blessing to not walk alone, to know that there's a higher source, that there's a bigger peace, that there's a huge, expansive thing out here that my little soul is a part of, that everyone in this room is one with me, and I am one with you, and that is all the love. It's all the love, and it's the love that we give then to each other, and to the trees, and to the birds, and to the sky, and to the nature, and to our family, and to our friends, that these masters represent, and Swami represent. And it's the truth. The best thing is it's the truth, and it won't go away.
Why don't you chant a little bit and have a little
Sure.
meditation? There's nothing to say. We're going to just chant a little bit and meditate for a few minutes. I think enough has been said I'm going to say for the moment.
Listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart's song. I will never forget thee. I will
listening to everybody speak, as deeply moving as it really was, looking into the soul and the spirit of each of these people who shared so beautifully with us. You know, we're all just looking in the mirror. Every soul story is our own story, even if the details are different. Realize how deeply each person was speaking for you and for me. This great divine mystery and this great divine romance. One heroic adventure after another. And always behind it is the hand of God, the loving hand of the infinite. Even when we think we're walking alone, we're never walking alone. Take a moment, please. Open your heart to that presence, however you define it. And pray in your own way, in your own language. To be aware of that companion. Offer your gratitude, even for the rocky parts. Through it all, we've been guided and blessed. Imagine yourself to have been one of those who spoke in this sense. But my story too is as touching and as real as every story we told, we heard. Because each soul is equally precious to the divine. Open your heart to that fact. We are, in fact, equal to each of the masters. To Jesus himself, to Krishna, Buddha. Not in our realization yet, but in our essence. The light shines equally through us, upon us, within us. Imagine yourself standing in front of this room of friends and just opening your heart, opening your spirit, and letting that light just shine through. Doesn't need words. With closed eyes, just pass your gaze in memory as you remember around the circle of people in this room. Isn't it amazing to see the angelic beings who surround us? And then let your gaze pass impersonally over yourself. Just the same. Same journey, same destiny. Same light. Feel how each one in the room is radiating light into the room, not from ourselves, from the great light that shines above us, behind us. It radiates from our own hearts, but is not really us. required is we simply accept the simple fact that God loves us completely, unconditionally. And through that divine grace, we are instruments of that love. Dambara, would you lead that simple chant, God's love, flows purely through me? Let's sing this chant first with eyes closed, and then if you wish to, open your eyes, looking around the room, looking out at nature, and let the affirmation of this song become your vibration, your reality.
God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt. Forever I'm free. God's love flows purely through me, from darkness and doubt.
Now let's more actively give this energy to one another, and from this place, let's send it out to the whole world. Dambara and Tandava, would you be able to sing Love as a Magician?
Of course.
Just get ready, and we'll do it in a moment. Each one of us, last night I asked you, what is it that holds you back? And tonight when we do the fire ceremony, and tomorrow when we do the purification, we'll revisit that. And also, what would it look like when you were free? So first I want you to just bundle up whatever it is that you consider to be your greatest obstacle. And I want you to make it in a beautiful package. Nothing to be ashamed of or to call silly. It's just something you've had for a long time. That now maybe you're ready to leave by the roadside. So just gather it up in the most sympathetic way and put it into the center of the room. And where it joins all the other limitations, because we're all in this together. And don't feel that you need it anymore. Just let it go. And then let's visualize the great transforming power of the Spirit. And we'll express that through the vibration of Om. And what the power of Om does is it realigns the vibration completely and puts it in harmony with the infinite. So our hands are powerful magnets, and we rub our hands together. Feel that energy building up in your hands. Pause for a moment and see if you can feel putting your hands across from each other. See if you can feel the energy that you have between your hands. Rub your hands again and make it strong and still. Now raising your hands and directing it toward this invisible, but nonetheless present, delusion of limitation that we're all carrying. And concentrating wholly, not only on our own freedom, but on the freedom of everyone here. Let us chant Om 3 times with great concentration and feel that all those vibrations of misunderstanding are simply being drawn in and realigned into the freedom of the infinite. Solution that we're seeking, which is really just surrender to the will of God, to no longer rebel against the needful, but merely accept that this is the stage of the journey that I'm on. Take that acceptance, that willingness, that wonderful enthusiasm. If this is where I am in the journey, then let me walk it with joy. Difficult though it may be, I accept it happily, because only by this route will I reach my goal. And let's take that willingness again and put it into the center of the room. And this time as we chant Om, just feel the joy of everyone's freedom as all of our aspirations merge together in this beautiful infinity. Rub your hands together. Visualize your freedom and the freedom of everyone in the room. to all those receptive hearts. Not everyone is ready or wants to hear this vibration, but may all those receptive hearts be touched and uplifted. Did you sing the song?
Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire, only you remain, and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away. Imagine you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can't breathe for love, all the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away.
Please repeat a very simple affirmation this week. May the divine light
May the divine light
awaken and purify my